Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. Well, this video is about building good credit. So we're going to talk about some slightly more specific strategies on how to build good credit, because good credit is important as you go through life. So some of this stuff is a little bit counterintuitive. Ask you to kind of think about these things and see if you're on the right track or if you need to make some adjustments. Okay, so the first thing is, in order to have good credit, you must use credit. Okay, and so what I mean by that is, um, you can't just say no. All right, you must actually use credit in order to build a good credit history. If you have no credit, that equals no credit. Okay, so if you have no credit, you're not going to just have good credit by default. It just doesn't happen that way. You actually have to use credit and then demonstrate that you're credible. Going back to the word, behind the word credit, that you're credible and trustworthy with how you're using credit, using your credit, and how you use credit translates into either good credit or not good credit. Okay. But we're going to assume that we're going to do things the right way here, and it will translate into good credit. So again, you have to use some credit, but you have to use it smart. Be smart about how you use it. And there's some strategies we'll get to here in a little bit that will help you do that. So here's an example. If you have a credit card, and let's say that you have a relatively small credit limit. Let's say your credit limit is $500. Here's one strategy: is to use the card every month. Use the card. Okay? Even if that means just putting $25, one tank of gas once a month onto that credit card. And by the way, this is a pretty good amount. Maybe you could go as high as $100 or so. And the reason is, so let me back up. So first of all, we're using the card, right? So using the card comes back to our concept up here. We already talked about at the very beginning, which is that you have to actually use the credit in order to build credit. So using, let me just write this a different way. Using equals building. Okay, and we'll say using well, in other words, using the credit well equals good credit. Using poorly will get you bad credit. Does that help? So that helps clarify a little bit what that means. Okay, so again, we're back here with our credit card. We've got our credit card. We have a $500 limit. Here's our limit. It means we can't spend more than $500 on the card. And we've decided that we're going to spend $25 a month, maybe up to $100 on things like gas, maybe some groceries. Doesn't really matter what the purchase is. And then we're going to pay it off in full. I'll do those in caps, in full, every month. So now we've done a couple things. One, we've actually used the card. Two, we've paid it off in full every month on time. And the other thing that's kind of hidden here, which is important and I don't think a lot of people are aware of, let's just say that you take your $100 and you actually use the $100. And remember, your limit over there was $500, right? Your limit over here was $500. So what you've done is you've used 20% of your available credit, right? Well, that's good. This is generally a good, a lower number here, generally speaking, is better. Because what creditors don't want to see, what lenders and other people checking your credit report, if you spend $500 and your limit is $500, that's 100%. You have gone to the max. You've maxed out your credit cards, and now they're going to start to get a little bit concerned about, your the way you're using your card. They're going to think, maybe John doesn't really have. Maybe he's not very trustworthy with his credit. He's taken out this card. He's He's run up a bill of $500 and he's only got a $500 limit. He's only got one more dollar before he's overextended. So maybe there's a problem here, and this will actually lower your credit score. Okay, so use the card. Okay. Oh, and by the way, one other thing that I meant to mention here, having a fairly low maximum, that can actually generally be a pretty good thing, because they want to see that your that your ability to borrow. Well, let me take that back. Having a low maximum is a good way to get started. All right, and that will help you start building your credit. But as you establish some credit, what you want to try to do is to increase that maximum. So a low minimum is a good beginning strategy. Okay, but you want to try to increase that maximum as your credit experience grows with that particular card holder. And the reason is that lenders want to see that you have a high borrowing potential. And what other lenders see from that is that they'll say, oh, well, suppose that you're with the same card for a year and they give you an increase to $5,000. But you're still just doing your $25, $25 to $100 a month on that card. They're going to say, wow, this other credit card thinks that Johnny's got enough credibility to have a credit limit of $5,000. And so the higher the credit limit, generally speaking, again, and there's a limit to this, but the higher the limit, the better. Not used, right? Not used, because you want to stay away from this problem here, where you get a high limit. I mean, just add another zero to that, and you have the same problem. Where you've borrowed $5,000 against your $5,000 credit card. Nope, you don't want to do that. Maybe $500 on your $5,000 credit card. Now you're just at 10%. That's getting to feel pretty good. So you can kind of see how all this stuff plays together, and it seems like a very simple thing, but you can see how just misstepping in one of these places can really impact your credit score. So again, to kind of come back here and circle back, you have to get a card and use it moderately compared to the limit. This example of $100 balance on a $500 card, right? Pay it off in full on time, and then once you've got some good credit, see about getting that limit max increased, even though you know that you're never planning to use it, because high borrowing potential is a sign of a strong borrower, someone with good credibility, and lenders will generally look favorably on that. Again, if it's untapped. Okay, now this number, I use 20% in my example, but 30% is really the upper limit that you really want to strive for. So on a card with $1,000 credit limit, you really want to kind of try to keep those balances at $300 or less. Okay, well, that was a lot of information I kind of threw in there, so you may want to go back and replay that and pick up some pieces along the way here. Another thing that you want to do, or not do in this case, is don't close accounts. Some people think that closing accounts is actually better, but the truth is that longevity, or the length of time that you have credit accounts open, that's a good thing for credit, right? So if you keep opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing accounts, that's going to harm your credit score and your credit report. But opening accounts early in life and keeping them open will help with helping your credit score, stay higher. Another don't apply for lots of loans at the same time. At once. So, this can happen a lot. You buy a new house, you go to Best Buy, and you go to I don't know, Sears, and you go to Target, and you go to all these places because you're buying all this new stuff, and everybody's like, oh well, would you like to open a credit card account and save 10% today? And when you're buying a lot of stuff, that can be kind of an appealing offer maybe. But what happens is, at that point you're applying for lots of loans all at once. So all those retailers will start hitting your credit, bang, 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 bang. And when all those credit card companies start looking at your credit report, uh, all those inquiries will help decrease your score. So even though you think you might be doing the right thing by establishing some more credit, the truth is you're actually harming yourself, um, and, and you don't want to do that. Now I mentioned it up here. Okay, I said paid off in full. There's actually a little sub-strategy that might be worth talking about, and that is, and I'm kind of running out of room, which probably means I'm also running out of time, but I'm going to put a little asterisk here. We're going to go down here, and there's a sub-strategy here which is kind of interesting, which is to leave a small balance on your cards all the time, or on your main credit card all the time. And the reason is, carrying, again, using the credit is one of the key things to building a good score. And if you have zero balances, even if it's for short periods of time, that can actually end up having a strange negative effect on your credit score. So you might always want to just leave, $5 on your credit card, so that it's never actually totally paid off, and that'll actually have an incrementally positive effect on your credit score. Okay, again, on time is big. Always make your payments on time. That's huge. And then one last point, and obviously we'll have to wrap it up and head to another video, but it's your responsibility to check your score. So I'm just going to put this in big letters here. Your responsibility. No one, I can't write and talk at the same time. No one will check your credit scores for you. In other words, no one but you cares whether or not your credit scores and your credit reports are right. So it's really your responsibility to keep tabs on what's going on with your report. And in another video, we'll give you some tools and resources to use to go figure out how to do that. So anyway, here's a pretty good primer on building good credit. Keep checking back for some more videos. We'll have some more tips and strategies for you, and we will see you in the next video.